Women's History Month continues with runner, triathlete, and coach Dionne, aka DD Fitspiration. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Runwave Podcast. I am your host, Kim. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the show. If you are a return listener, welcome back. I truly appreciate you tuning into the show week after week. If you are watching the show at home, you see me sporting my Fly the Runwave hoodie. Be sure to support the show and pick up your own hoodie. You can go to therunwave.com/shop and order a hoodie for yourself. They come in a variety of colors, and we also have some Ride This Wave tees and a cute Ride This Wave hoodie as well. So be sure to go to the website and cop you some fresh The Runwave gear. It is still March, and I am continuing highlighting great women for Women's History Month. And next up, I have Dionne. She is someone that I have known practically since the start of my running journey, and our running / triathlon journeys have taken similar paths, and she is one of the reasons why I actually got into triathlon, why I ran my first marathon. She's just really been an inspiration, which lives up to her name, DD Fitspiration. She's been an inspiration to me for a very long time. And I think that you will really get into her story because it is just a story that fits so many of us. So it is very relatable. She's a very relatable person. And she also has a great book that is out, which you should definitely check out. So let's get into our chat. All right, everybody, please welcome to the show, runner, marathoner, Ironman, fitness, nutrition coach, triathlon coach. Oh, she's a bunch of things. We'll get into that. So please welcome Dionne to the show.
Hey, Kim.
Welcome.
How are you?
Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. It's a long time coming.
Yes. I watch your shows all the time. They are so cool.
Thank
you. Congratulations on the runway.
Thank you so much. I feel like I haven't seen you like in person in forever.
It has been forever. Probably since our last trip together.
Oh my God. That was 2019 April.
Yeah, that's about right.
Wow. Did I see you at the marathon? I think you went ways before me, so we can see each other there. But we see each other online, so it feels like we see each other more than we do. But
yes,
yeah, I'm happy to be able to finally chat with you on the show.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
I'm happy to be here.
So tell everyone a little bit about Dionne. Where are you originally from?
Sure. So my name is Dionne. I am from the South Shore of Long Island, New York, is pretty much where I lived all my life. This is where I grew up. I am 48 years old. I'll be 49 this year.
Wow.
I am a police officer with the Hempstead Police Department with the rank of detective. And I'm assigned to the FBI Gang Task Force, which I've been with them. The FBI has kind of borrowed me since 2009. I've been with them on the task force since 2009. I've been on the job in total for 24 years. Next year will be my 25th year.
Wow. So you've lived in Long Island your whole life?
My whole life, Kim. I've born and raised South Shore, Long Island. Won't tell you the exact town, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Were you born in Atlanta?
No, Bronx.
Well, I know your mom lives in Atlanta. Where were you born?
I was born in
Brooklyn.
No, in the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx. My mom
Sorry.
moved to Atlanta like 6 years ago, so that's why I'm back and forth there so much. But
That's
God,
right.
I don't know why I thought you were from somewhere else.
No. So my parents are from Trinidad. I'm not sure if that's, but I was born here in the States. But my parents are from Trinidad and Tobago, which is an island in the Caribbean. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. So how do you like being a detective, a woman detective?
Yeah. So I love my job. Um, these last few years, it's been a little challenging, but it's a career that I love, to be honest with you. Um, it's, sometimes you're like a girl trying to fit into a guy's world at work,
Hmm.
because the team that I belong on is an all men's team. It's been like that since I joined, but you kind of get used to it, and I'm kind of like one of the guys now.
So how is
Mhm.
it? Are there a lot of women on the police force?
That's a good question. So the Hempstead Police Department, like Freeport, Kim, has their own police department.
Hmm.
It's a small village, and we now have a lot of women on the department. Our department is really small. It's about, I would say, maybe close to 130 officers in total. That's including bosses and the chief. And I would say when I came on, there was only, I don't know, maybe 4 women, maybe 5. I think one had retired that year.
Hmm.
Now we have, I would say, at least 15 women. It
Wow.
sounds like it's not a lot, but with a department of 100, it's, they've come a long way. We have Hispanic women, we have Black women, we have some white women. They've they've come a long way. I would say we have at least 15 to 18 women now.
So they're making progress slowly but surely.
Yes, right.
So I see
Yeah.
behind you or your picture wall there, and I see your daughter. So tell us a little bit about your
Yes.
daughter.
So my daughter, her name is L'Oreal, like the makeup. We call her Lulu for short. She works for Hot 97, the radio station,
Hmm.
and her name there, as they call her there, is L'Oreal Lucci. Um, she's 30 years old. She actually turned 30 last week.
Lori is 30 now?
She's 30 years old.
Oh my
Yes.
God. God, no, if Lori's getting old, that means I'm getting old too.
We're both getting old, Kim. Um,
Oh
and
my
she's doing
goodness.
fantastic. She loves her job. She is in charge of the social media and digital aspect of Hot 97. And it's she went to school for journalism. She went to Buffalo State, and she loves her job.
That's good.
It's convenient,
I remember when she
hmm
graduated. Like, it doesn't seem that long ago, but
right?
wow, Lori's 30?
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
boy. Time is
Um,
flying.
it really is. And I have to be honest, during the pandemic, I really appreciate her job where it allows her the flexibility to stay home, um, because of the pandemic, excuse me, it's just so much safer and makes. Me feel at ease.
Hmm. How has it been for
Mhm.
you during the pandemic? Because you're on the front line, basically.
Yeah, so pretty much for the last 18 months, I've been working 6 days a week, not a lot of time for fun stuff until
Hmm.
last week when I took Lori away for her birthday. Um, the pandemic was tough, between the pandemic and social injustice and stuff like that. It's been a rough year.
Hmm.
But I'm not complaining. Like I said, I do love my job. And, while the whole world shut down, pretty much, you know, I, I didn't have the luxury of staying home and working online. I still have to go to work, you
Yeah,
know,
I
hmm
know.
and still interact with people. And, that's tough too.
Mhm.
You try to be as cautious as you can. And, it just puts you in a real scary spot. You don't know who has it, who doesn't. It's, so you just try to be as careful as you can.
Do you feel safer now because you got the vaccine, right?
I did get fully vaccinated. I got the Moderna. Am I pronouncing it right?
I think it's Moderna. I don't know. Moderna.
Moderna. Yeah. I was fully vaccinated on February 10th is when I received my second shot. And I wouldn't say I feel safer because my daughter's not vaccinated. So I'm still interacting with people at work, a lot of people at work on a daily basis. So I'm just always afraid that I bring something home. So although I'm vaccinated, I'm still super careful, in terms of wearing a mask, washing my hands, and, doing all those things that we, try to do to protect ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for doing all that you do, because I commend everyone that has had to work through this pandemic, because I'm lucky enough that I could sit home all day, bored to death, but I can stay home, but a lot of people weren't that fortunate. And I commend you for going out there and still going out there every single day, because it's not over. People think that it's over, but we're like still in the thick of it.
Absolutely. And I think, especially this summer, although more people can get vaccinated, we still have to be really careful. Spring break is coming, and just, we all just have to be really careful. And,
spring break is here. You didn't see those videos in Miami, they twerking
Florida.
Crazy.
Oh, yeah, I just can't even imagine.
I can't imagine either. I can't believe it.
And can we just shout out not just to law enforcement, but all the other people on the front lines, like, bus drivers, our sanitation people, our grocery store clerks. I mean, hospital workers, of course, everybody from, maintenance workers to nurses and doctors. Like, shout out to everybody, right?
Everyone. We appreciate all that everyone has done during this time, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's get into your running journey. When did you start this thing that we all love, this recreational running?
Okay, so in the summer of 2012 is when I went to a local race in the town where I work in Hempstead, where they had, it's called Hempstead Day. And it's what's considered a small race, a 5K. Normally every year I had worked the race where I was directing traffic and stuff like that. But this year I wanted to actually participate in the race. Mm-hmm. So I go to this race. We met, I believe, at Kennedy Park. And before I went out for the race, I remember looking at my local radio's TV station, News 12, where they was featuring a group called Black Girls Run. Mm-hmm. And they talked about, their running journey and how they meet weekly. And I believe they were already at Kennedy Park. And I was like, wow, that's the race that I'm going to. Mm-hmm. When I got there, I actually saw the women from this group, Black Girls Run. And a few of them, I went up to, I don't remember exactly who I spoke to, but they were very inviting and told me, they meet weekly at the Freeport track. And they were like, you should come out. And I was like, okay. But that was I think my second 5K. The first year I did it, I walked, and this year, that particular year in 2012, I did like a run walk. After that race, I did go to the Freeport track where I met you and some other girls from the group. And, you guys were great. It was like, no judgments. It was, everybody was at different levels. I feel like you guys were seasoned runners already.
No. Okay. Now let me jump in here. So
okay.
Dionne and I know each other through Black Girls Run. That's how we both started running. And I actually think that you started running before me, because I started running in August of 2012. So when was that race?
The race was in June.
So you started running before me.
Yeah, I started running. That race in Hempstead was in June of 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And like June, July, August is when I started going to the Freeport and Baldwin track to run.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys were like always dressed cute. You always had on your cute outfits and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I want to be like that. The girls had mentioned that they were doing a race that was coming up called the Diva race. Some were doing a half marathon, others were doing a 10K, and they were like, you should do it. And I was like, all right, so I came to the track more often, trying to be a little bit more consistent. My walks turned into a little WOG, which is, when you run and jog, and then I learned how to jog, and I did my first half marathon via the Diva race in that October. And it was the hardest thing ever. OMG. My daughter was in college at the time, and I remember coming home. I could barely walk. I was like, this is crazy. It was hard. It was to date then, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. But I felt so accomplished. I was like, wow. Many girls from Black Girls Run had done that race. So, we had all seen each other, at the finish line. And that's the race where they give you the champagne and the rose, the tiara, pretty popular in different states. And then fast forward a little bit, someone in that group, same running group, had mentioned, they did triathlons and they're a triathlete. And it was the first time I had, honestly, Kim, ever heard of those two words, triathlon and triathlete. Did you know anything about triathlons or being a triathlete before BGR?
I watched the Kona race before, but I never really it was just something on TV that I watched. If you asked me what the sport was and things like that, I probably wouldn't have known. But yeah, this is another little tidbit, is that I got into triathlon because of Dionne.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, because you guys were training for that first race. What year was that?
2013.
Oh, geez. So we went from running to triathlon like that. Right? But I was the following year, because I saw you guys and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And you guys were trained, and I didn't know. I watched it on TV, but didn't really know. But yeah, you're the reason why you and Lisa lost. You guys are the reason why I got into triathlon.
Wow. It's so like I said, one of the girls in the group had mentioned she was a triathlete, does triathlons, and unlike you, I had never saw it on TV, never heard of those two words. And she mentioned she was doing a seminar about it in December of 2012 at Queens, one of the colleges. So I went, a bunch of us went from the group, and it was so interesting. It was, basically a triathlon is a multi-sport where you swim, bike, and run in that order. And like marathons, there's different distances. They, everything from a smaller race up to a bigger race. And they mentioned in this seminar that there was a sprint triathlon coming up in April of 2013, and we should do it. And I was like, man, I just did this half marathon, and now you want me to add swimming and biking? Like, it sounds like really crazy, And I was like, no, but where do I sign up? It intrigued me a little bit, So, so 2013, I did my first sprint triathlon, which was at the time the Mini Mighty Man. It's the distance for a sprint triathlon is you swim 800 meters, you bike 6 miles, and then you run most of them are 5Ks. And that was super hard. I was like, oh my God, I got like a coach for it. A group of us trained for it. And it was incredible. It was like the most amazing thing that I had done. Like I had done this half marathon in October of 2012, and it's fast forward 2013, I did this sprint triathlon. So that's kind of where I got hooked, I would say. And just seeing other women doing it, I was like, yeah, this isn't bad, you know. That summer, the coach, my coach, she's still my coach, Coach Jax, she was doing, I think it was Louisville. I believe she was doing an Ironman that year called Ironman Louisville. And she was like, you know, you want to come? And I was like, okay. So her and her group of people, they drove to Louisville from New York, and I took a plane and met them there. And I got to spectate at an Ironman, and I was like, this is incredible. It was August, it was hot. They don't do the race in August anymore because it's, I think that was the last year they did it in August because of the extreme heat conditions. It felt like 110 degrees to me in the shades, just standing still. So I can't even imagine what those athletes felt like. But just spectating at that Ironman was such an amazing experience. Her mother was very good at spectating in terms of knowing when to meet her at different locations, you know, after the swim, after the bike, you know, in different spots during the run, because my coach Jax had done other Ironmans. Like, I was like, man, she's done this more than once. Crazy. You know, and it was that August when I was like, you know what? I want to do an Ironman. And she was like, all right, you know. So fast forward a little bit more, that spectating was in August of 2013. I had done a half Ironman in 2013 also, towards the end of the year. I did the Mighty Montauk. I think that's what it's called. Out here in New York on Long Island. That was super hard. So that was kind of like...
Every race was super hard.
Right? Oh my God.
But they are. They really are.
They really are. So I ended up doing my first, after spectating in 2013, that Ironman in August, I did my first full Ironman in 2014, which was Ironman Mont Tremblant, which is in Canada. It was hard.
I know it was. I can't even imagine, because 70.3 is hard. I can't even imagine what double the distance is.
70.3 is hard, and 140.6 was extremely difficult. We were very worried about the cutoff times, because after I finished the bike, it's very hilly there. Just like marathons, you have locations where it's flat. And Ironman and triathlons, the same thing. You have areas where it's either hilly or it's flat, but it's windy. So this particular place, the weather is nice, but it's very hilly. And when I got off the bike, I remember them rushing me, the volunteers rushing me into the tent where you get changed, and was like, you got to hurry up. You have literally 5 minutes before you get cut off, because for each discipline you have cutoff times, where you have to do it within a certain amount of time. Otherwise you're not considered, an Ironman. So when I got off the bike, I literally had 5 minutes to start my run.
Wow.
I didn't even change. I put on sneakers, of course, but the top that I had meant to wear to run in, I did not have time to change. It was wet. It was like, you ever, like trying to take a bra top off when you're wet. It was too much pressure. So then, I finished, and I remember the feeling was just like so amazing. And I was like, I'm never doing this again. This it's too hard. I'm never doing this again. And then I was like, like a week later, it's like, all right, when is the next one? Where else can I do it?
And now you're seven Ironmans later.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. That is crazy.
You know what? I'm going to get into this later, but I read your book.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that you did 7. I knew you did a lot. I didn't know you did 7 Ironmans.
I did 7. So basically from 2014 up until 2009, I did an Ironman every year since 2014. Because of the pandemic, I wasn't able to do it in 2020. I was scheduled to do Ironman Lake Placid. Mm-hmm. And I did 2 last year. I did Ironman Mont Tremblant in August, and then in September, I did Ironman Maryland, which was my plans for 2020. I was going to do 2. But, life happens, so you're gonna do. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know if, I know races are starting to slowly come back, but I'm interested to see if full Ironman races will be back this year.
Well, there was a race this past weekend in Miami, Challenge
Yes.
Miami.
Yeah.
So they're racing in the South.
Mm-hmm. And that was a 70.3, right?
Yeah, I think so. So if we want to race, I think we're going to have to go to the South to do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in addition to 7 Ironmans, you've done 19 marathons.
I've done a bunch of marathons.
Which I didn't know either. I did not know that you've done that many marathons. I mean, I know you did a lot of New York City marathons like over the years, but 19?
Yeah. I did 19 marathons, and I guess by now it would be 20 because when the book came out, I hadn't done I did a virtual marathon in 2020. The Long Island Marathon that was canceled, I did it virtually. So that doesn't show up in Athlinks, but it shows up on my Garmin. It counts for me. A lot of the marathons, Kim, I did as like runcations, some many that you were a part of and you organized, which was great. And some of them I used as training for Ironman races. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was reading what you said, like Barbados was like one of your hardest marathons that you ever did.
Oh my God. That was the year when I wanted to stop after the halfway point, and Wendy, who came with us on the trip, had never done a marathon before, never trained for a marathon before. She was like, come on, let's do it. We can do it. Honestly, Barbados was one of the, I don't know if I didn't train well enough for it. I know it was hot.
I think it was the heat. And I don't know if you remember, but at the turnaround point, I ran into you.
Yes.
Me and another girl, and it was you and Wendy. And there's a picture of the 4 of us, and like we're talking to you, and I just remember like you didn't want to go on, but you had Wendy there, and it's like, oh my God. If she wasn't there, do you think you would have just not?
I would have stopped. I would have stopped.
That was hard. I mean, people don't realize how hot it gets, and this is in December in the Caribbean, but Barbados is so far south, like it's very close to the equator, so that's why it's so hot. But I agree with you, that's like one of the hardest places to run in because of that extreme heat.
The heat was, and I had done, at that point, I had done Jamaica Marathon twice, which is also hot. Those races start at 5 a.m. So you're done, by 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. But Barbados, for some reason for me, that till this day was still my hardest marathon. And if Wendy wasn't there, I most likely would not have continued. The water that they were giving out at that point tasted like tea.
It was hot.
They said, yes, it literally tasted like tea. And, they say you're not supposed to drink, cold water, but I needed cold water. Even to pour it on my head just felt like bath water. And, but Wendy got me through it. That's, she got me through it.
Listen, that I remember when we went back, I don't know if it might have been 2 years later. It was even worse. Like the girls were like, had to get off and get in an ambulance. It was so bad. It was like,
right.
It was really bad. Like after that, if we ever went back, I would discourage people for signing up for the marathon. Like it's a lot.
Yeah. Do you remember what time of day that race started? Was it
5 a.m.?
It did start at 5 a.m. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember the sun comes up there. It's like by like 6:30. It's like hot already.
Yeah. It's already in the 70s. Every hour it gets hotter and hotter.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a good time. But it was definitely one of the hardest marathons I've done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk a little bit about your fitness journey, because it seems like in the last, I don't know, like 2 to 3 years, like there was like a switch with you. And you've always been like very active and I would say a little bit competitive as well, but it seems like there was a switch and you started taking, your nutrition more seriously and things like that. So what was that catalyst for you? What made you, kind of like switch directions?
So, although I had been doing Ironmans and running marathons and stuff like that, and I'm competitive, I think, with myself, I noticed that like I wasn't really getting any much better. And I'll never forget, I won't mention this person's name, but words hurt. I remember going to, how can I put this without you trying to even guess who it is? I went to pool swim practice one day, and one of the coaches, who I won't mention their name, I had just come back from one of the big runcations that you had planned, and they were like, "Where'd you come from?" I, maybe had a tan or whatever, and I said, "Oh, I went to XYZ to do a marathon," and they were like, "You run all these marathons, how come you kind of like look, kind of suggesting that I was overweight?"
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my feelings being so hurt because of those words, and I have, for the most part, pretty much thick skin. The line of work that I work in, you got to have some thick skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember feeling so like, and I remember talking to one of the other girls about it, and they were like, "Oh, men just say the craziest things." Okay, so now it's a guy. So words hurt. But in my journey, I kind of always thought, because I was running and because I was doing these Ironmans, that I kind of just gave myself permission to eat whatever I wanted. Oh, I ran a marathon, I can eat whatever I want for the rest of the week or the rest of the month, or because I'm training for this Ironman, I could eat whatever I want. And the truth is, depending on what you want your results to be, whether it's to maintain weight, lose weight, or get a little bit better at the discipline, a lot of it has to do not just with training itself, but the nutrition part of it, and not only was I thinking that I could eat anything I want, I'm not talking about like salads and, grilled chicken. I was eating literally whatever I wanted, pints of ice cream and, I'll run it off, and, there's a saying, it sounds cliche, you can't outrun a bad diet, but it's really true. And my nutrition for a long time just had not met the standards of where I was in training. And once I started eating better, I noticed my times got a little bit better. I felt a little bit better. I wasn't as winded. And I started feeling better from the inside out. Um, and that makes a big difference, your nutrition. So my workouts pretty much stayed the same, but once I changed what I was eating in terms of, the more common sense stuff of, not too many fried foods and not too many sweets and stuff like that. My body changed physically, but it also changed up here mentally also. I felt a lot better. My run times, increased, and I just felt overall much better.
Mm-hmm. Did you cut anything out, like totally, like meat, dairy?
So like you, and I'll never forget when you went vegan.
No, I was vegetarian.
Vegetarian.
I couldn't give up eggs and cheese, like, but the meat I could give up.
Yeah. And then one day you just had bacon after the baby, I think. I remember, I'll never forget. So more recently, I changed to a more plant-based diet. The end of 2019, beginning of 2020. Yeah, the end of 2019, I wanted to try, more plant-based diet and see how that made me feel. And honestly, it made me feel the best I had ever felt going plant-based. I've kind of fallen off the wagon a little bit in terms of being totally plant-based. So now I call myself more flexible, I guess. Plant-based at convenience. But the more plant-based foods that I consume makes me feel better. So I did go down that route, more recently, and I like it. But you have to be careful because, just because you do a plant-based diet doesn't always necessarily mean it's the healthiest, because you have to watch the processed stuff, because you're eating plant-based. If Impossible burgers or, those type of things are great, but they're processed. So you have to, just like if you ate meat, you'd want to eat probably red meat in moderation. Same thing with those burgers, plant-based burgers and stuff. A lot of them are processed, so you have to have those in moderation also.
Mm-hmm. So when you're plant-based, how do you get enough protein? Because I know you could get it from beans and things like that, but how do you get enough, really?
Yeah, so I supplement a lot of my stuff, my foods. When I can't get it from food, I'll have protein shakes, beans. I do the Impossible burgers. More recently, I've tried to limit those. There's a lot of vegetables that have some protein in it. You just got to find what works for you. It's hard, but there are a lot of things that have protein in it. That doesn't have to be meat.
So you had trimmed down a ton. Do you attribute that to the plant-based diet?
Not just being plant-based. I would attribute that a lot to, and I don't like using the word diet, but definitely,
well, lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. And I started counting my macronutrients, which are, your carbs, proteins, and fat. Basically you can calculate what you need depending on your age, your height, your weight, your gender, and things like that, your activity level. And that seems to work for me, where I do macro counting as well.
I tried to get into that, but my attention span is just not.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It
It's
is. It really
it's a lot of
is.
work.
I mean,
Hmm.
like, it's easy when you can scan the labels and, it just gets in there. But when you have to manually input it and figure things out, it's not easy
It's
at
not
all.
easy. Um, so now, like, I can kind of eyeball things a lot better. But when I first started watching my nutrition very closely, um, macro counting and using an app was the way to go for me, because otherwise I was kind of just guessing how much I'm eating, um, or, you know, and that could either make you overeat or undereat, when you're just guessing. So, now I don't use the app as much anymore. I kind of go based on how I feel,
Hmm.
you know, try not to be overstuffed and try to just eat until I'm satisfied,
Hmm.
you know, save the rest for later if I can. You know, my portions are, 5 to 6, maybe even 7 small portions throughout the day. And that's including snacks and fruits and vegetables and stuff like that.
Hmm. So this running slash triathlon fitness journey has led you into coaching as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
how and why did you decide to lend your knowledge to others with
So,
coaching?
and that's a good question. So I wanted people to really experience what I felt as a triathlete. Like, anybody can do this as long as you put in the work and, you give it your best.
Hmm.
And I wanted other women especially to realize, like, hey, this is what a triathlon is. This is who a triathlete is. We don't all fit under the same big umbrella. We're all sizes. We're all shapes. We're all ages. One
Hmm.
thing I didn't mention when I went to that race in Louisville was watching people in their 60s and 70s, like, doing this Ironman race. It was incredible. So, we don't all fit under the same umbrella in terms of age, size, um, occupation. Um, so that's one of the main reasons why I started coaching. Um, when I do retire from my present job, I will have a whole lot more time to dedicate more time to coaching. This last year, my coaching was very limited because, I was working 6 days a week. So it was really hard for me to get into coaching and not give, athletes my full attention. Plus, races were canceled. So not a lot of people were interested in coaching. So, but next
Hmm.
year, hope by this time next year, I would have a whole lot more time dedicated to
Hmm.
coaching more full time, you could say.
I remember when I texted you and I was like, I want to do this race. I think it was the one in Connecticut.
Uh huh.
And,
Oh, quasi.
yeah, and I wanted you to coach me, but I ended up changing my mind because I was just traveling so much and things like that. But whenever I
Mm-hmm.
do get back into triathlon, you're going to be my coach.
Good. Good. Thank you, Kim.
But I'm not doing any Ironman races.
Yeah.
We're going to have to find some other brand of
Brand.
triathlon to do because, yeah, Ironman
I
is
get it.
they're over for me.
I get it. No, I get it.
So, what's up with your book? What made you want to write a book?
This one?
Oh, she got it. She has it. And I want to preface this by saying that I read it on Kindle.
Okay.
If you're going to pick up this book, you need to get the physical version because you have all of those, like, what do you call it? The journals and, the
There's videos in
accountability.
the book.
Yeah. So tell us about your book. What made you want to write a book?
So I feel like I have such a story to tell with regard to my personal journey, um, where it allows people to not only get to know me a little bit better, because, let's face it, like, you see things on Facebook and you're like, oh, this seems so easy,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted people to really understand where I started how I started, why I started, kind of like what we're discussing here. And hopefully I wanted it to be able to inspire someone to get moving, really, whether that for them is, hitting weights in the gym, or do their first 5K, or do a triathlon, regardless of what the distance is. And I honestly, if I ever write another book, one of the things that I want to talk about, because each race that you do, and you can relate to this a lot, each race that you do, whether it's a 5K, a sprint, or an Ironman, there's a story behind every race, right? Like, how you got up that morning, how you trained for that race, maybe some drama in between, and I could literally tell you a story about each Ironman that I've done, each marathon that I've done, each 10K that I've done, where I remember things. That's too much to tell, like in a Facebook post. Like, who likes reading long Facebook posts? I really don't. And that's kind of like how the book started. It was one of those 10-day challenges where it was like, tell us every day for the next 10 days about your running challenge or something like that. I think that's what it was called, a run challenge. Mm-hmm. And each story that I told for those 10 days, from the first day till the 10th day, was leading up to my Ironman race. And the posts were long, and I remember saying for each post, I'm sorry this post is long, and that's kind of what got me, because people were texting me on the side and was like, you should write a story about that and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? And that's kind of where it started, because I had so much to say that I couldn't say in a Facebook post. And if I ever did write another book, I want to be able to tell you guys the story behind each race, particularly the longer distances, the stories behind each of them, what the training was like.
In this book, you did say that you were writing another book.
I did.
So you put it out there, so you have to do it now.
I have to do it now. I put it on a runway, so it's out there. But I would like to tell people about the journey of each race that I've done in the longer distances, because there's a lot that goes into it, with regards to getting up early, finding the time, missing functions with, like barbecues. And, I remember one year I didn't go to one of my friends' weddings because I was scheduled for an Ironman, so, you kind of feel bad about those things, but like anything else, it's been a lifestyle for me, Kim. Just like you, I'm never bored. If swimming was on my schedule for training for today and I couldn't make it to swim, I have other options, where I could jump on the bike, or I could go for a run. So I'm never bored in that aspect. There's always something to do, mm-hmm. And I like that part of it. It's like people say, movement is medicine, and it truly has been that for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just on someone else's show, and I told him, like, training for a triathlon was like some of the best times in my life that I can,
yeah,
period, because like we formed so many friendships,
bonds, yes,
yeah, through this. I train with my buddy Allison, and she's like one of my besties to this day. And mm-hmm. yeah, I just think like the dedication it takes to do a triathlon of any distance, like people don't understand really what it takes. And I commend you for working a full-time job and training for a full Iron, because I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
I can't do it. So I commend you for, putting in the effort, and you've improved drastically over the years, so you put in the work to get the results, and I'm proud of you, Super D. She's Super
Thank
D,
you,
y'all.
Cam. Thank you, Straight Kim. She's Straight Kim, y'all.
Yeah, like I follow a lot of things that you did. I don't know if you remember, but years ago, y'all were doing the 9+1. I didn't even know what 9+1 was, but we did the Scotland races, Central Park.
Dressed in our kilts and stuff like that. Yes.
I remember I saw you guys and we all did our own race. And I remember you texting me and I probably was at mile 3 and y'all were finished already. And you were like, where are you at? I'm like, I'm still running the race. And you said take care, y'all leaving, you said take care, do good. And but those are like the things that I remember, and that was the catalyst for me watching you to do the 9+1 and get into New York City Marathon. So yeah, it's like,
wow.
I know
it really is. It really is a community, right? And and when you find the right community, it makes you accountable. It makes it, fun. It makes a big difference, and that's in any distance, like you said, training for any distance. It doesn't have to be the long distance to find this accountability, and it feels really great.
And Brett, right?
Of course.
So Brett texted me yesterday, coincidentally, and he said
he texted me while I was away. Actually,
he sent your picture for Zoot, and he's like, because of me, he knows you, and because of you, he wants to do tries. So I'm like, wow.
He texted me while I was away last week, and he sent me the same picture that you're talking about. And he did mention that he's interested in doing a triathlon. And that's what I want. Like, I'm not really sure where this sport was when we were in school and, stuff like that. Like, it's just something, at least where I grew up anyway, no one talked about it. I didn't know anything about it until I was 40 years old. So to hear other people say that, it makes me feel really good, and that's regardless of any distance that they're doing,
And you know what? That's like the power of social media today. Because I don't post my workouts like I used to, because I've been in the game so long now, and it's like, it gets old. But yeah. I see people coming up behind us, and they're doing what we did, and I'm like, they're paving the way for we others. Paved the way for them, and they're paving the way for the next generation. So, it all comes full circle.
It does.
But I want to tell everyone to pick up Dionne's book. Tell them the name of your book and where they could get it.
So thank you, Kim. The name of the book is On a Mission, Plan Your Goals and Journal Your Vision. It's not just a tell-all book all about myself or anything like that. This book is about you also, where there's a journal inside. There's QR codes that you can scan with using your smartphone, where it'll lead you to videos that I recorded, excuse me. You can get the book on Amazon.com. It's $19.99, or you can get it on my website, which is dd/fitspiration.com. So either place you can get it. If you got it on Amazon, it would go straight to you. But if you got it on my website, I could sign it for you if you like and send it.
So you'll get, like Brett Coulter, he said, I know a celebrity. So you'll get the celebrity signed copy.
I could sign it if you come on the website.
But I loved reading it because I felt like I was reading my journey too, almost.
Right. Well, you are part of my journey. Like,
I know.
We swam together so much, at the pool, and I'm always trying to keep up with Kim in the pool. It's all about journey, right? But
I love it. I loved reading the book. I love seeing the pictures when you guys are at the Diva race with the feather boas. Like, it's a good read. It really is. And
thank you. It's an easy read too. It's like, it's not going to take you all week to read it.
Yeah, because you're telling stories, and it keeps the reader engaged, and you even have like quotes from stories from other people in the book as well, which was nice to read. But Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm proud of everything that you do. And
Thank you, Kim. I really appreciate that.
yeah, I'm glad
Thank
that I
you.
finally got to talk to you, and my audience can get to know you so we can expand your audience as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, I think, especially in triathlon, there's not enough of us, enough women, enough Black
Yes.
women,
Black.
enough Black
Mm-hmm.
people, period.
People, period. Knock on wood.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, you telling your story and you being a coach will hopefully encourage more of us to get into the sport, because we're running, we're making a little bit of a dent in running, but
Yeah.
triathlon is a different beast,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it takes a lot to want to get into the sport, but when people see you doing it, then that's going to encourage others to want to do it, especially if you're coaching.
Yeah. And I don't want people to feel intimidated, like, oh my God, that's, swimming, biking, and running all in one day, Um, even if you did it not to race, if you did it as just to keep in shape, to, you know, have this lifestyle, I personally love it. Running after a while, it's been hard on my body. So being able to switch things up between, swimming and biking, helps a little bit. And like I said, I'm never bored at any one thing because there's always something to do,
Mm-hmm. And when you find your person that you can train with, it's like it makes it all the more fun.
It really does. It really does. It holds you and that other person accountable, because there's going to be days when you don't feel like getting up early or doing something after work, and that other person's tugging on you like, come on, we got to go, and vice versa. It really does help. Mm-hmm. It does.
Yeah, so I want to thank Dionne for being on the Runway podcast. It was a pleasure having you on, and I hope that we will, once this panoramic is over,
we'll see each other in person.
Yes,
right?
We'll get to hang out and like the good old days. God, remember we went to that party? Lisa had our birthday party at that spot.
Which one?
Oh, she had a 50th birthday party.
Oh, yes.
Those were like the good old days, man. I miss them.
I know. But thank you for having me on your show. I love your show, Kim. And I'm so proud of you as well. Like,
thank you.
Keep us informed. You're like, got all the questions and answers coming. I love it. I really do love your show. I'm really proud of you. And I love the name too. Where did the name come from? Can you tell me that?
Well, and this is funny because I had another name that I wanted to use, but it was already taken. So I was in bed and I was like, I'll ask my husband to help me find a name. And I was like, the run, I need an ending. And he came up with wave, and he had no idea that there are waves in races, which is crazy. Right. And it just fit. Yeah. The run wave, it fit.
It fits. I love it. And where can I get a sweatshirt?
therunwave.com, girl, /shop.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to check it out.
So tell everybody. This was great. Of course. Tell everybody where they can find you on socials.
Sure. So my Instagram is DD_Fitspiration. That's Instagram. And on Facebook, just under my name, Dionne DeGourville.
And I will leave all of her links down below so you can follow her and you can pick up her book. It is a good read. So make sure you get it from her website so she don't have to pay Amazon, y'all. Get it from her website so she can sign it.
Thank you.
And you get it right from the source. So again, thank you for being on the Runway podcast, and I hope to see you soon.
Stay safe and stay healthy, Kim. Good seeing you.
You too. All right. I hope you enjoyed my chat with Dionne. I will leave all of her contact information down below. You can scroll up right now and check it out. It was such a pleasure chatting with her, having her on the Runway podcast. It's always great when I can chat with people that I know in real life. And she is one of those people. So I hope you enjoyed her story. Make sure you pick up her book. I will leave the link for that book down below. And remember to order it on her website, and you'll get an actual autographed copy straight from Dionne. So thank you again for tuning in to this episode of the Runwave Podcast, and I will catch y'all on the next one. Later. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Be sure to subscribe to The Runwave on your favorite podcast app and leave us a review of the show on Apple Podcasts. It would really help me out. If you are a runner that has a story to tell and you would like to be on the show, you can email hello@therunwave.com or send us a DM on Instagram to The Runwave. See you next time.